Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to the next episode, which I believe, let me just check to be sure, is episode 34 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Golden Wind or Vento Aureo, whichever you prefer. So as you can see, I'm in my new bedroom here in the new house. We have moved, and as I said, I'm getting caught up with this today, Monday. I'm also going to make a video regarding the poll because I wasn't able to reveal the winner of that, though I think a lot of you already know. But for those who might not, I'll make a poll winner reveal video as well. But yeah, so this is my new room. It's a little bigger than my old room, not by too much, but bigger enough, I feel, that it does make somewhat of a difference. It's definitely worth it. Let's put it that way. It's worth it. It's bigger enough to be worth it. And yeah, I've got pretty much almost everything unpacked in here. Just gotta put a few things on the walls and stuff, and I'm gonna be getting like a couple other things maybe, but that's about it. In fact, just in general, we've gotten most of everything unpacked and everything. We've got it, at least the big stuff, especially like, for example, the kitchen stuff, the living room stuff. We've been making amazing progress in our bedrooms. We've just been kind of going at it. We did most of the moving stuff on Saturday, and then yesterday on Sunday, we kind of just finished with all of that. We just went back to the old house, cleaned up as best we could. We couldn't vacuum because the power was already turned off, but we did the best we could, cleaned up as much, and grabbed everything else we needed to grab. And so, yeah, like I said, just going to put up a few more things, but you can see, like, I have my desk back here. You can only see, like, the little, a little bit of the book section of it, as well as the section with all the figures and whatnot. You can see some plushes over here and stuff, but yeah, can't see everything. But I can show you a little more. Like up there's my DVDs and everything. There's some figure stuff as well. You can see there's stuff over here. I have plushes just kind of laying around everywhere because I don't have a lot of space for them. My bed is over here. I have some stuff on it right now, but yeah. So this is basically the new setup. I'm gonna try to record most, if not all, videos from here. And there's not like this massive, huge, like important reason for it. Honestly, the only reason I didn't record in my bedroom in the old house more often is just because the bedroom there sucked. It trapped in temperatures. But here it doesn't do that. And even if it did, we have a central cooling unit now. We don't have just the air units and stuff, so we haven't really tested it out yet, but we have it, and it should work. There might be a couple of occasions where I do record from the living room. We have new furniture, and the walls are kind of bare right now, but they might have stuff put up on them, but yeah. We'll kind of take that as it goes, and I'm going to try to record most of the stuff in here, though. I just feel like it's going to work better. Plus, I kind of have a recording space now, if you can call it that. I mean, I have more of a use for this chair now, too. And I kind of like this setup here, like with the table over off to the side closer to the bed, so that it shows more of me. Allows me to use my hand movements more for reactions, if I so choose to. But yeah, I did want to show this all off before we got to the reaction and stuff, because again, you're going to be seeing a lot more of it, and there will be something on the wall back here. I'm thinking probably my trans flag is going to go there, but I just haven't gotten everything up yet. So the room will probably continue to progress as we go. But for now, let's get into talking about the episode at all. So last week, we had the full reveal of Diavolo, who is definitely the most flamboyantly designed of our villains that we've had in this series. I don't think we're going to get too much more for him personality and character-wise. I think we've gotten all of that at this point. So I don't think there's going to be any big surprises that will really change him from here on out. So I think I could probably say at this point, he's not my favorite villain of this series. And not just because I obviously love Yoshikage Kira as a villain. I just don't think that compared to pretty much any of the other main villains of this series, he really holds a candle. Kira, Dio, the Pillar Men even. I just don't think he's as interesting as any of them. Not that he's a bad villain. He's not. He's a good villain. Just in comparison to the others, he's not as interesting. The most interesting thing about him, of course, is his split personality disorder with Doppio. But that's not enough to make him like this amazing villain. But again, that's not to say he's like bad or anything. But last episode, he killed Jean-Pierre Polnareff. And I mentioned last time how I was concerned that it just felt like Polnareff was a plot device in order to make Diavolo, well, to showcase his, how far he's willing to go, basically, to keep his secret and stop people who are trying to, well, act against him. And it's just, I just feel like Polnareff deserved more. He was never, again, my favorite character from Star Wars Crusaders, which I am rewatching right now thanks to Rarity Dash's reactions to it. He was never my favorite character, but I did like him. And I definitely liked his story arc concerning his sister and Jay Guile. So, there is a lot to like about him, for sure. It's just, he was never my favorite. But he definitely deserved much better than this. Hopefully, at least, oh my god, Silver Chariot. Hopefully, at least Silver Chariots is able to help with that, because as we saw last time, the arrow has pierced Silver Chariot, which means that it has been upgraded. Now, I did note last time how the arrow pierced Silver Chariot and not Polnareff, so that the effects of what it does in the upgrade might be a little different than, say, what happened with Kira, with him getting bites the dust and all from the piercing. So I'm interested to see how that's going to come into play. Now, pretty much all of our heroes are there at this point. I think a couple of them are still in the turtle, but they're there. Bruno, I don't think is going to be much use to anyone right now. He's just kind of out of commission due to his deteriorating body. But yeah, it's just like, it's basically at this point where Diavolo has the massive advantage. And not just because he has the high ground. He's, in every possible way, got the advantage here. His Stan's ability, King Crimson's ability, just the fact that Polnareff, the person they were there to meet, is dead. You also have to take into account the fact that the others have no idea what to do to combat him. I mean, that's kind of why they were there to meet Polnareff. Everything's basically fucked. The only thing going against Diavolo right now is Silver Chariot. And we don't even know exactly what that's going to entail. All we've seen is its shadowy form, which it's obvious what it is. It's obvious that it's Silver Chariot. Um, we have no idea what's going to happen quite yet, except for those who have like read the manga and stuff, of course, or those who have already watched this episode because it's been out for a few days. I don't have any idea. But I am excited to find out because this series, no matter what, it's still probably my second favorite part of JoJo, even though the villain leaves a little more to be desired in terms of personality and character. Um, I still like Vento Aureo probably second best um, to Diamond is Unbreakable. And that's nothing against the first three parts at all, by the way. um, but yeah, I'm really excited to find out where this goes. I have been given one spoiler, and it was by someone in the comments. Um, I was told that this is the episode with the changed intro. Because as you know, starting in part 3, they changed the intro near the end of the series. They do like this special little update to it. For example, in Stardust Crusaders, Dio used the world to freeze time. And it had that really epic, amazingly done moment where he just walks by Jotaro and it's silent and it's like, oh, it's so chilling. And of course, Diamond is Unbreakable had the episode where the intro started as normal, but then it rewound, referencing Bites the Dust. I have a few ideas of what this one could be, considering King Crimson's stand. Or, well, King Crimson's powers. King Crimson is the stand. I have a few ideas, but I don't know for sure. But the point is, I do consider that a spoiler. I mean, I'll let it slide this time because otherwise I would have skipped the intro. If I'm being honest, I would have skipped the intro. So I'm letting it slide just because it is it is going to allow me to see that. I probably wouldn't have seen it with the reaction otherwise. So I actually will thank you, but just be careful about that kind of stuff. Just be careful because it's like there's a fine line with that kind of thing. Again, I'm not saying that you were wrong for telling me this time because again, you probably knew I would have skipped it otherwise. So I actually, in a way, thank you for taking initiative because I think this is something I want to react to. But yeah. Either way, I am excited to get going on this. I'm excited to see more of what this series has in store. So for now, we're just going to get on with this. We're just going to do it. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in today, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Okay, so, yeah, as I was kind of saying I'll start with what I was saying at the end of the reaction. Why was the new opening changed in this episode? Diavolo honestly barely had a role to play. It just feels like it was a little premature and wasn't necessary to have. I mean, don't get me wrong, I liked it. But the only reason I feel like it makes sense to have it here is if the entire rest of the series is going to have the updated opening as well. Which, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to, but usually, like in the past, like with Stars Crusaders and Diamonds Unbreakable, it's a one-episode thing to kind of like showcase something big. Usually, like with Dio, it was to showcase the world, to really, it was like the big deal that the world was being really introduced, like really introduced. And with Diamond is Unbreakable, it showed, it was for the fact that Bites the Dust came into play, that Killer Queen received that upgrade. With this one, I mean, this episode was definitely more about Chariot Requiem. So it just seems like it was a little premature. Maybe a future episode would have worked better. But if they do it just for the rest of the series, then that's a different thing altogether. Um, I guess we'll just have to see for next week's episode. Well, this week's episode, technically. Um, but yeah, so this episode, another good one, with a really interesting premise. Now, the body swap thing has been done to death constantly by other anime, series, movies. I mean, have you ever seen Freaky Friday starring Lindsay Lohan? Or the other version of it, the original? Because the Lindsay Lohan one was a remake. But seriously, or no. Freaky Friday, was Freaky Friday Lindsay Lohan? I think it was. I think it's Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis, right? I've seen it once, okay? I've seen The Parent Trap more. Either way, I think it's Lindsay Lohan. Either way. The point is, this concept's been done a lot in various media. The idea of switching bodies, switching souls within different bodies. Yeah, it's been done a lot. I think what helps this stand apart, though, is the way it's done and the fact that it's just the series it's done in. See, the way it's handled feels much more sudden and not really out of place. That's not the right term for it, but more like just really just out of nowhere, I guess. It makes the characters feel a lot more uncanny, I guess would be a way to put it. Because of it. Like, the instant they start waking up, the way they're acting is instantly weird. Like, something's off about them, and you don't know exactly what, but then once it's revealed that they swapped bodies, it's like, yeah, okay. So it's an interesting set, this swap, too. Narancia and Giorno switched, and Trish and Mista switched. And as we find out now, also, Diavolo switched with Bruno, and Coco Jumbo, the turtle, switched with Polnareff. So a lot of interesting switches there. Now the stuff with Trish and Mista, I want to talk about these different switches and how they've kind of reacted around them. Trish, I don't know. Something about it's weird to me. Trish has, I mean, when she was first introduced and all, she wanted like the magazine and the fancy stuff and all of that jazz that Narancia had to go pick up for her. But she never came across otherwise as being very high maintenance. And in this episode, she seems very high maintenance. Like, she seems like, well, she's just complaining a lot about being in Mista's body. And don't get me wrong. I think that it's valid to be shocked and freaked out by that. But she's complaining about it almost in more of a, ew, this is a gross man body kind of way. And it almost just doesn't seem like her character. She's acting more like a stereotypical teenage girl character, and Trish has been shown to be far from that. The little bit that we've had of her character development in the series, mind you, but still. It just seems like it's really out of place for her to act like that. And don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that that she shouldn't be shocked and freaked out and everything, like I said, that she's in Mista's body. Even a little concerned about it, but they take the joke a little too far, I feel. Mista's reaction to being in Trish's body, like, at first I thought it was Narancia, honestly. Just the way he was acting, but I think it's just because he was so, like, shaken by it and all. I like how the first thing he kind of notices are his lack of dick and his tits. And he's, like, making, like, this, it's like this unconscious thing. He's just grabbing himself down there, and, like, he grabs his tits and stuff. And it's like, a lot of people would probably do the same, to be fair, but it's like, geez, dude, really. Their switch, just, again, the reactions from them were kind of done for a mostly comedic effect. And I'm not gonna, like, be one of those people who, like, just is gonna shout, oh, it was a sexist reaction on both of their parts. I'm not gonna say that. It was just kind of a little weird, and I don't think it worked. I just don't think it worked in terms of what it was trying to do, personally, for me. Um, but yeah. But then we have Giorno and Narancia, whose reactions were definitely not as cartoony, for lack of a better term. Their reactions were definitely a lot more held back, which is weird because Narancia's the one you would think would be freaking out the most. Um, there's not too much to talk about them. Their reactions were done mostly as just, what the hell's going on here? And then Bruno and Diavolo, we really haven't seen their initial reactions to the concept yet. We don't even technically know if Bruno is aware that he's in Diavolo's body. Um, and Diavolo, we definitely don't know if he's aware because Bruno's body is kind of messed up right now. Here's the thing I wondered about, though. So, if Bruno in Diavolo's body takes back the arrow and everything, will they just automatically switch back to their own bodies? Kind of what I'm thinking. I don't quite remember if they actually specified that, if Polnareff specified that. But yeah, there's a lot of questions that entails. So we find out apparently in this episode about Chariot's upgrade, and it was obvious it was Chariot, but we get the details. So because Chariot was stabbed with the stand arrow, it unlocked, I guess, a new stage to its potential. Basically, Silver Chariot evolved, Pokemon style. This version is called Chariot Requiem, and it is not under Polnareff's control in any way, even when he was in his body. Because this has apparently happened before, and if you take the arrow from him, he turns back to normal. But then Polnareff also said that, like, if they're going to do it now, it'll destroy him. So I don't know what the deal with that is. But yeah. So it's like, there's a lot of questions that I feel are still raised with this. Now, obviously, the upgraded form and everything is more due to the fact that Chariot himself was stabbed with the arrow. Obviously, as we've seen with Kira, if the user is stabbed again with the arrow, then they just get another ability, I guess. So it's like, if the user is stabbed, it's a new ability. If the stand itself is stabbed, it's a full upgrade. Probably because it's more direct into the stand rather than into the user. I guess it makes sense. So yeah, this is a really interesting concept. Chariot Requiem supposedly has much more ability and stuff, but all we know that it can do right now is swap bodies. And it seems to do it kind of subconsciously because, again, the stand is kind of just going rogue, as it were. Which is also very interesting. If Giorno does this as well, which I had already theorized on, does that mean that Gold Experience will go rogue, or will Giorno somehow be able to keep control? Is it different depending on the different stands and stand users? I guess we'll have to see, because I still assume that's going to happen. The arrow just is way too important in the opening. And it's just, a lot of this episode I feel was focused on the entire body swap premise, because, I mean, it was kind of like this big, shocking deal. But I feel like the ending is where we're going to really see where this goes with the next episode. We really got to see where this goes to really get a good feel for it. Because here's the thing. Diavolo could technically be awake right now in Bruno's body and just not be moving or anything. Because here's the thing. Gold Experience can't sense Bruno's life energy. We know that. Because Bruno's not alive. He's technically a walking corpse. So I assume he wouldn't be able to feel Diavolo inside of Bruno's body either. Also, a thing to note, I almost forgot to mention, is that they can use their own stands even though they're in other people's bodies. Um, Now, we already know that the stand is basically a manifestation of a person's fighting spirit, so I guess that just goes along with the soul in general. So even though they're in different bodies, the stand is still connected to that soul specifically. However, it also seems like each of the stands has kind of gotten this upgrade through this I guess because of the switch happening due to the upgraded Chariot Requiem, their stands just got this natural upgrade that just happened from the Switch. For example, um, I almost said Little Bomber. Aerosmith is much faster and possibly more precise. Uh, so there's that for sure. Now, I also didn't mention too much about Polnareff and Coco Jumbo yet, and that's because I kind of wanted to save that for the end. Because I can't talk about their initial reactions too much because we didn't see what Polnareff's was, and Coco Jumbo's a turtle. But here's the big question. I mentioned it during the reaction. How can Polnareff talk through Coco Jumbo's mouth and everyone be able to understand him? The only thing I can think of is because Chariot Requiem is still his stand. Even if it's Rogue, it's still his stand. But the thing is, like we saw, there was these multiple instances of people switching bodies, just civilians and stuff. One example was this guy and a dog. The dog inside the guy's body was just saying like bark, bark and stuff like that. But the guy who was in the dog's body was also barking, was just barking like a dog. He wasn't speaking in English at all. So it's like, how can Polnareff, how can his voice be heard through the turtle? All things considered, a turtle should not be able to make that kind of noise with its vocal cords and stuff. So that's the only thing I'm really confused at, and it really just hasn't explained. And it probably won't, to be completely fair, but it's just like, that's a legitimate question, because it's like they should not be able to understand him. I mean, I get that they have to understand him for the plot to work, but they could have at least tried to explain it. Even just like a little one-off waved off line, like, oh, because I am connected to Chariot Requiem. Something like that would have been fine. But yeah. So as to where this is going next, we left off with Bruno inside Diavolo's body, rushing toward Chariot Requiem, trying to take the arrow. The only question is, where's this going to go in terms of the battle and all? Like, is this really going to affect too much in terms of the incoming fight against Diavolo? That's something I'm seriously unsure about at the moment. It could not. I don't know. What I do know is that if everything's switched back, Diavolo will be at a massive advantage again. Because if taking the arrow back will switch their bodies back, Diavolo will have the arrow at that point, which is a bad thing. So, and also he won't be in Bruno's corpse of a body. Now, here's actually an interesting question. Or I just thought of it, actually. What if, because Bruno his body's all messed up, what if the actual life energy that Giorno transferred him that's keeping him alive, what if that was actually transferred as well to Diavolo's body? So Diavolo's soul's kind of trapped in a literal just dead body. a corpse, and that's why he's not moving. That's why he's not reacting. He literally can't. And he's just like kind of this, he's just kind of there, unable to do anything. That would be interesting if the life energy that was keeping Bruno alive is kept in that way. I mean, who knows? It's just, we're going to have to see where this goes, because this is a really interesting concept they're running with for this series. Either way, thank you so much for tuning in. Tell me in the comments below what you thought of this episode. And as always, no spoilers. For now, though, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. Yeah. See y'all next time.
And though you've come through many obstacles,